we'll see what happens with that. And my last but not least, certainly not least, is Sean Taylor. A guy that
it's got to be
right, of course. Got a glimpse into what greatness could have been. A guy who was tragically cut down, in the prime of life, the prime of his career. A guy that, to his credit, you hear young players even today talk about how Sean Taylor was my favorite player. Like guys who were in the early 20s, the guys who say Sean Taylor was playing when he was like 5 or 6 years old, but he's still my favorite player and a guy who I modeled my game after, which is weird because, a lot of these guys would have got a lot of penalties modeling the game after Sean Taylor with all these big hits and head-to-head contacts. He was a major hitter, but
he leveled the punter in the Pro Bowl. I love it.
Yeah, I would take it down a notch there in the Pro Bowl there, Sean, but you love the passion, you love the fire that he played with, and he did it every single game.
Absolutely not. Nope. Nope. Sorry. I believe in 100% ask. If that's who you are, stay true to it. That's why I love Sean Taylor, even though he wasn't a Packer, because I was in high school and I played free safety, and I was small, man. I was like 5'6", maybe, about a $115 at best, and I was a big hitting, fast son of a gun, and I love that.
Right.
Sean Taylor
Absolutely.
was. Honestly, the one thing about him, Paul, I think he could have been. He was so good, so fast, and yet his career was so short. That's why he's remembered. Had he been able to play a full career, he could have been in the GOAT, man, of like defensive backs. Like he was just good. Like. He's one of the few safeties other than Charles Woodson or DBs that I think he could have played corner. He was that, like, he had all the qualities to play. It just happened he played safety because he liked to hit. He liked to see the field back there. But he absolutely had all the athletic talent and ability to play corner. When they talk about greasy hips and all that, that's why he was so good. And as free, I mean, unbelievable, man. Just... Right. Yeah, that's why you have 5-year-olds that remember him. That's how good he was.
Right, absolutely. I remember a game versus the Packers back in 2007, I think it was, where he picked off Favre twice, and plays where he just came from off the screen and just got that deep middle safety and was able to get to the receiver and get his hands on the ball. Like, he was the type of guy who was always around the ball, always getting picks, always forcing fumbles, always scooping and scoring. Just a model football player, a guy who was made to play football, and like you said, like a guy who just he had it. Just you can't explain it. He's had it. Just an incredible football player that was. I wish I could have seen him play a little more. Obviously he was cut down, tragically, but one of the greatest.
Well, I got 2 Redskins players that I've always had a soft spot for. One was D'Angelo Hall.
My guy.
Oh, and I love the mouth on him. I love it because he backed it up. I mean,
always.
The guy was a shadow corner. He literally, anywhere you went, he went. And he was right on your heels. And either he made the quarterback pay dearly. I think, what was it? He intercepted Cutler 4 times in one game?
Yeah. He made the Pro Bowl off that game. And I think they were all in the second half, too. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a half.
I think it was one of those games where the wrestlers were starting Rex Grossman or something like that. And they had like 3 points at half. And they ended up winning the game like 17 to like 11 or something like that, something ridiculous. But yeah, he made the Pro Bowl off that game, and everybody will remember the time that he picked off Jay Cutler like 4 times in like 27 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Well, my other guy that I have a soft spot for is currently playing. It's Ryan Kerrigan. You talk about a lunch pail guy, comes into work every day and just puts on 100%. And I love Kerrigan.
Yeah, Kerrigan is just another guy who just, like you said, a lunch pail guy, quietly does his business. He's actually going to break the Redskins' all-time sack record this
Doesn't
year.
Get respect on the sacks. He does it every year.
Right. I mean, a guy who just averages 9 to 10 sacks a year, he's never going to be, or never was, or never will be a 15, 16, 17 sack a year guy, but a guy who you can rely on every year, to get 10, 11, 12 maybe, and make a few game-changing plays. And like you said, he's going to break the record this year for all-time sacks in franchise history. And it may be just the most underrated player maybe currently in the NFL, one of them.
Well, do you have any soft spot for a couple Packers players that you wish you would have had on the team?
Right. Of course, and I'll skip the obvious right now and just not say Rodgers or Favre because
the cliche,
yeah, that seems like just like the most obvious answers, especially with the Redskins quarterback situation, what it's been in the past 30 years. But like you said, Charles Woodson, I'm going to say him first and foremost. Like a guy, not only did he switch from cornerback to free safety with ease, like only a few guys have ever done that. Rod Woodson is a guy. I can't even think of any guys who did it better. A guy who's a playmaker, who's always around the ball, always.
Oh, the very first Ronnie Lott, the most famous and infamous.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. Oh, Ryan Lott, how could I forget? But Charles Woodson, a guy who I was a big fan at Michigan, a guy who could go both ways for offense and defense, a guy who when he got the balls in his hands, he was always looking to score, whether it was on a punt return, on a interception, on a scoop and score, whatever. Just a guy that is a truly great football player and a guy that I would love to have on my team. And another guy that I always really admired on the Packers was Jordy Nelson. Always loved him. I'll always remember that Super Bowl versus the Steelers and how he was just kicking Ike Taylor's ass all game. Like just like a ridiculously good receiver, great fundamentals, like amazing route runner, amazing hands. Like I know I'm giving all the standard white guy stereotypes right now, but like a guy who had underrated speed, but like a guy who also had like amazing rapport with Rodgers. Like it seems like they could complete like that slant pattern in their sleep. A guy that just quietly handled his business and was always just a great player, and I always admire him as a player as well.
Well, the funny thing, and I want to ask you if you remember this. Do you remember watching that Super Bowl? And I mean, I literally at one point turned to my wife and asked, did somebody feed this dude like a bunch of Mexican jumping beans or something? Every catch, whether it was necessary or not. I remember he had Ike Taylor beat by 5 yards, and the ball was literally like going to fall in the breadbasket like Rodgers likes to do, and he hopped. I mean, he caught it, but he still hopped up in the air to catch it. And it was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you remember that particularly, but if you go watch the highlight package, I think you'll catch what I'm saying. The dude literally, I think, was so excited he could not keep himself from just jumping with excitement every time he saw the ball coming towards him. It was just hilarious because he had 7 catches for 150 or 170 yards or something like that.
I think I do remember. It was down the right sideline, right on touchdown. Was it on touchdown, or am I making this up?
No, it was on a touchdown.
I remember exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I remember exactly what you're talking about.
There was no reason for him to hop up in the air, none.
Hey man, you score a Super Bowl touchdown, you get excited, man. I don't blame him, but when he was dominating, kicking ass like he was on that day, I'm sure you can do whatever you want,
Oh no, I don't think it was cockiness. Yeah. I just think he was just. Yeah. It was just. Oh yeah, no. Like a nervous twitch almost.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, you know what? I know you mentioned earlier that you had success in the earlier days of the Redskins, and I got to ask, out of the 3 Super Bowl QBs, which one's your favorite? Is it Doug Williams? Is it Theismann? Is it Ripien? I mean,
well, that's a good question, and honestly, all of them have their own little spot in Redskins lore. I mean, Joe Theismann obviously was the first to do it, the first guy to win a Super Bowl, and the first MVP or league MVP we've had. Doug Williams was the first black quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, so that's obviously a huge deal. But I mean, just based on the strength that I remember, Mark Ripien, at least a little bit, I'm gonna have to say Ripien. I mean, a guy who just really had a unspectacular career. I think he was only a full-time starter for 4 years. But I think back to being a little kid and watching that 91 season and just watching him lead that team that was just unstoppable. I mean, they scored 485 points. I think that was one of the top scoring offenses of all time at the time. He threw 28 touchdowns, 11 picks, which isn't great.
That's with Buffalo and Dallas right there too. So that's saying something.
Exactly. Went 14-2, just stomped everybody on the way to Buffalo and winning that Super Bowl. Just a really great season from a really average quarterback at best, but that's the one that I'll always remember.
Yeah, and I'll definitely agree with you there. I'm a huge fan of Ripien, but I've got a soft spot for Theismann because he was such I wouldn't say a mobile quarterback, but he's able to scramble a little bit, and he was able to get nifty out of the pocket a tiny bit. And if that injury didn't hit him, I feel like he would have gotten another one. Right.
No, Theismann was an underrated, really mobile quarterback. You probably don't remember this. he used to return punts for the Redskins back when
Sammy
Jurgensen was the starter. Yeah, you remember. So, I mean, for a quarterback to be
I
out
watched
there
some
just
film and I saw him returning punts.
Yeah, for a quarterback to be returning punts, and I mean, Theismann doesn't look your typical punt returner type of quarterback, but he's no Lamar Jackson or no Michael Vick, but a guy who had a little bit of mobility to him.
He had vision too. That's the thing. If he saw a lane, he was able to use it.
Right.
Which helped that mobility on the pocket to be able to step out. If you saw a lane, I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, Rodgers the first ever to do that type of pocket bouncing back and forth." If you go watch Theismann, he was doing that.
Yeah, no, Theismann definitely could get out the pocket, and you saw that a little bit if you watch back in the early Gibbs days, back in 83, 84, 85 before he got hurt. They did a lot of sprint out, a lot of bootlegs, a lot of motioning out of the pocket with the quarterback. It was something that was kind of different for the time, but something that they definitely used his best strengths to his advantage and were able to take advantage.
Now, bonus question here. I had it just popped in. Okay, same injury as Joe Theismann. Does Alex Smith make a return this year?
This year,
I saw him doing drills. And,
yeah,
I mean,
for my sake, I mean for his sake, I should say, I hope that if he's planning to ever return to football, that he gets just clearance from every doctor there is known to man. I mean, the way that injury went down last year, it looked really ugly. It looked honestly like he would never jog again, let alone play football. So if he's able to come back next year, and honestly, he's had such a great relationship with Dwayne Haskins. I mean, you read about all the time how Haskins goes to Alex Smith all the time, and they have a really great relationship. I would love to see him mentor Dwayne Haskins, especially on the field in a backup role. But, I hope that for his sake and for his family's sake and for his long-term health, he's able to actually have a life with that leg. And if he wants to play football again, then, so be it. Let him come back.
I mean, I've seen all these videos of him and the one his wife posted. He was literally sprinting uphill on a treadmill in that boot. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy wants to play again. Like, he is motivated as hell. And it just, I love that story of him trying to come back. And I think he will, because he just doesn't seem like the type of guy that would quit. And I really would like to see him start another game for the Redskins. I just love it. And it's not the fact that Alex Smith came in the draft with Rodgers. I just like the way Alex Smith is as a person.
Right. No, I hear you on that, definitely. And if you read the tea leaves down here in D.C., I mean, there are rumors that, that he can make a comeback and that maybe there would be open competition next year. I mean, I don't know. I guess that really just depends on how Haskins looks the rest of the season and how the summer goes.
I was just going to ask you that question, Paul. How would you feel, honestly now, how would you feel because of how raw he is, and he clearly needs a lot of work, if your next head coach, and you had Alex Smith, because let's be honest, Alex Smith is that guy, and I even brought him up because of the Patrick Holmes. So you already know you can trust that while he's doing his job, even if he knows it's for a year, he's already done that. And so it almost is too good of a scenario if he's able to come back for you to open the doors and allow him to come back. And yes, make it an open competition. Make sure he's still the guy that you want to start. And if he is, well, hell, you got a perfect situation. And who is a better person than to do it than him? Because he's gonna teach him everything he knows. I mean, go ask Patrick Mahomes.
The smart play.
Him. So
right.
How would you feel about that scenario?
Man, that's a tough question, and I'll only answer that by saying if Dwayne Haskins looks that bad this year, where next year needs to be open competition, then we may need to reconsider Dwayne Haskins, period, because he's playing now and he's getting better week by week. And I know that he's still a project. I know he's still raw. If you come in next year and you can't beat out Alex Smith when you have the coaches in the front office's favor, then you may not be the guy, period. But I mean, as far as Alex Smith goes, I mean, he couldn't be a nicer guy, couldn't be more of a professional. I would love to see him resuming his playing career. And if he beats out Dwayne Haskins next summer, then he beats out Dwayne Haskins next summer. We were 6-3 last year when he broke his leg. You know, he's a leader. He's a type of guy that guys play behind and play around, and they love playing for him. So, you know, I wouldn't hate it, but that would just mean to me that maybe there's something going on with Dwayne Haskins that